What did you do different than what you did last year? Huh. Yeah, 2021. Hmm. You know what? I'll say the second half of 2021 was really good. The second half was really good. First half, I was kind of dragging my feet a little, but the second half kind of picked up some new momentum. Although I did work on a movie in the first half called Afro Linen. It's a short film. And then right as the summer hit, some new opportunities came along. Worked on a play, A Midsummer Night's Dream, memorizing Shakespeare in less than a week. Yes, 19 pages of Shakespeare in a week. That's not a very easy thing to do, but I did it. I learned a lot about myself doing Shakespeare, man. And you have to be right on point too. You can't improv Shakespeare. For those of you that are actors, yeah, Shakespeare, you gotta know every single line. Usually you learn a script and you make things up as you go along, you improv and you get through it. No, no, no. You can't do that to Shakespeare. For those of you that are thespians, you know what I'm talking about. And let's see what else. There's been some other things too. Currently working on an audiobook. Just about done with that. Getting to the end of that. So there's been some things for 2021 that I'm happy with. There's been some movement. How about you? Has there been movement? Because there's still a lot going on out there right now. Did you have some goals set up for 2021 and did you achieve any of them? At least one. One goal for 2021. What was it and did you achieve it? If you didn't achieve it, why not? We've got some challenges right now. We've got some challenges right now. When you look around, the world is shifting, it's moving. People are being squeezed out of the workforce because they have to get there's a lot going on, man. It's a challenge to say that. But you know what I think of? The world has always been through challenges. The only difference is now we have tech. That's really the only difference. There's always been challenges. The medieval times, the times of the Roman Empire, Babylon fell, there's been challenges. There's been an exodus, people left Europe and came over to the United States. Yeah, after World War II, people left Europe again, came to the United States. You know, would we see a major migration from the United States to other places? Would there be a reversal? Then you hear some talk about some states wanting to secede from the union. There's just a lot of talk, a lot of shifting and moving and talking and frustrations and divisive factors that are at work here. But there's a lot of production to be done. I'm an optimist in that regard. I am one who gives people the benefit of the doubt because sometimes you got to be slapped in your face in order to make a change. You have to be slapped in order to understand a new reality. Okay. You have creators and you have spectators. Now, there's no right or wrong on either side, but therein lies the difference. The creators produce things, right? They create something, build something. They're constantly creating. And their challenge is competition with other creators, especially now because there's an oversaturation due to the internet. Okay. So, of course, therein lies the challenge going forward because now the creators are going to have to create even more, right? And go completely independent for some people. You got to create even more. And it is a grind in that sense, or not necessarily a grind, but requires a lot of diligence, I'll say. And then you have the spectators. The spectators are the people who just consume stuff. They work and they consume stuff. They work and consume. They watch. They don't produce anything. They don't contribute to anything except the consuming of the entertainment, the consuming of the food, the consuming of. So those spectators are now going to have to become creators, especially because of the shift that's going on right now. If you have been a spectator for the last 10 to 15 years, you're going to have to change that up. Now you're going to have to be a creator. Like literally, the world is going to force you to be a producer, a creator of something, whatever it is. So if you haven't been thinking about it, now you got to think about it. because now you're like, wait a minute, hang on. What skills do I have? Oh, I haven't worked on those skills. So then what am I going to create? This is a challenge on either side. All right. There's no right or wrong to this discussion, but it is what it is because we're going through a shift. Pre 2020 world, post 2020 world. The world after 2020, different from the world before 2020. It's going to be a different ball game whether you're ready for it or not. So now you have to decide on, okay, what's my role in this world? Now, some of you don't think about stuff like this. You know why? Because you're inside of your own bubble and you have micro level thinking. But eventually what's going to happen is you're going to get slapped. You're going to get slapped with a reality that says, oh, no, no, no. I need to produce something. I need to produce something. Otherwise, I will have nothing. How about a vision board? I know it's cliche, vision boards. I have mine. This thing here. That was a quick one. So, vision boards, the things that you write, the things that you want to achieve. You have certain things that you want done. I have about 5 things on the board. Something to see, because sometimes you need to see your plan in order to engage your plan. Writing things down. I like writing things down. Some people don't like to write things down. They just have it up here, which is fine. But sometimes you got to see it to visualize it, to plan for it, to strategize for it, because this shift will require your strategy. Think about the people who were born in the 1800s. Okay, I was born in 1976. So let's go back 100 years before me, right? So 100 years before me, what would that be? 1876. So 1876, what was going on? The Industrial Revolution. Oil hadn't been found in California just yet, assuming that I would have been in California, born in 1876. But from 1876 to the year 1921, okay, which is the same time span as here currently, the world was different. The world was different because you went from farming, oil, right? Of course, the Industrial Revolution, and then you had trains, planes, and automobiles. Electricity started to form, right? Only half of the United States had electricity by 1925, so that was a new thing coming on the rise, right? The world was different between 1876, 1921. So you think of what that experience would have been like, where the world shifts into something else. Okay. We're going through something like that right now. The world is shifting into something else. Now, going back again, World War I happened. What was that, 1917? Movies were kind of on the rise. Hollywood was barely getting in. In fact, 1921, the Hollywood sign wasn't even built yet, not until 2 years later. So there was a new thing called movies, silent movies. Movies didn't have any sound, okay? But you had this thing that you went and you saw on a screen, and it was a new thing. Planes, trains, and automobiles was in development. Trains were already going. Cars, planes, new thing, okay? This was all being developed between 1876 and 1921, all right? What a different world. You go from living off the land and farming and agriculture to what we understand today, which pretty much came to form at the turn of the 20th century. So a lot of people don't think about this, but when you put yourself back in that time, and people didn't live long back then, it was a shorter lifespan. The average lifespan today is about 75 for men, about 80 to 85 to 90 for women. But back then, what? Late 30s, early 40s, maybe 50s, roughly average. So maybe if you took today's lifespan and put it back there, okay, now you're going into maybe the 1950s. You would have seen that change up. What are you going to do to be a part of this new narrative that's to come? How are you going to get through these challenges? You know what I think of too, moving forward in the early part of the 20th century, is the invention of farmers market here in Los Angeles, 1934, where that was during the Great Depression. Okay, a very dark time in American history, the Great Depression. I think it lasted, what, 10 years? So then you have something known as farmers market starting out here in LA on 3rd and Fairfax. Some of you have been to the Grove, right? The Grove was established in 2002, but the farmers market has been there since 1934. And that began with farmers parking their trucks on the corner of Fairfax and 3rd Street, and they would sell produce from the backs of those trucks. I think it was about 12 trucks. And then eventually you had owners of restaurants who opened a stall next to the trucks, and it grew and grew and grew. So even during the most darkest times, there were successful inventions. People found a way to get things done. And wasn't prohibition during that time too? Yeah, 1930s. World War II was on the horizon, which really took off in 1941. But there was a lot going on that was kind of in the dark, but people figured out a way, right? So when you look at this, when you look at the historical elements, when you play that in your mind and you put yourself in that time and you say, man, you know what? We really don't have it all that bad. I just need to figure out a new way to function. I need to figure out a new way to function. I need to figure out a new way to think. I need to figure out a way to create and produce. I haven't been producing. I haven't been putting anything out there, but somehow I need to either develop a new skill or figure out how I'm going to fit into this new narrative that's about to take place. Because you will fit, you just have to figure it out. And the challenge will be being consistent with it once you figure out what that is, because that's the only way that success will happen is consistency. So I'm looking at this very logically here, and it's going to happen whether you like it or not. So for you creators, the challenge is continuing to create in a market that is oversaturated with influencers and creators, right? And for those of you that are spectators that have been kind of just an audience to all of this, you're going to have to produce, especially if you don't want to do a certain thing. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. You're going to have to produce. Let's see what happens.